welcome back to the EB Insights podcast. I'm Sandra Dreyer, Chief Marketing Officer at Cliquify, and today I have an exciting announcement and an exciting guest. Let me just give a quick intro as to why we're here today. So I think we all know that analyzing external data points is pretty essential for companies that want to know how they rank as an employer within their industry against competitors. Most people that are probably watching or listening to this podcast are probably involved in talent acquisition, talent attraction, or maybe employee engagement. So you understand the importance of benchmarking a company's brand reputation. You can identify gaps in things like compensation, benefits, workplace culture, and really help to adjust strategies to better attract and retain talent. For anyone who already understands this and or leverages external benchmarking to build and measure their brand strategy, you'll know that doing this effectively requires a pretty significant investment. And that investment could be either time, money, or both. And we all live in a world where we have a lack of time, if anything else. So finding an opportunity or ways to sort of streamline this process is pretty critical. That being said, external data is really the only unbiased view that you can take a look at to correct any overly positive internal assessments, because a lot of times when we look at those internal assessments, they might be biased towards one direction or another, and can help you make informed decisions and also tackle some issues that are potentially affecting your recruitment and or retention. Staying on top of these trends is going to not only help companies refine their talent attraction and retention strategies, but can also prepare you for your future workforce needs and policies. So that all leads me to the topic of today's podcast and our announcement that Cliquify has launched a new feature on our platform called CLEO Intelligence. This is an AI-based technology that is designed to transform how organizations understand and strengthen their employer brand against top competitors. Analyzing millions of data points, CLEO Intelligence provides companies with a comprehensive and unbiased, which is very key here, perception of their company as an employer of choice. And then you can compare this perception against your top talent competitors to really understand some targeted strategies and identify opportunities to improve your overall brand perception. And ultimately, really strengthening your employer, your company as an employer's appeal to potential talent, but also looking at ways that you can develop internal retention strategies. So to talk more about CLEO Intelligence and give us some of the insights and some of the benefits of this platform, we are joined today by Amit Parmar, who is the CEO and founder of Cliquify, and really excited to learn more about this platform. So welcome, Amit.
Yeah, glad to be here, Sandra. You did such an amazing job. No surprise of explaining what CLEO is. All right, so we'll talk about that.
So let me start by asking you, everyone knows that Cliquify is basically built as a one-stop platform for employer brand activation. It's actually what attracted me to working with you and your other co-founder, Mohit, because it is sort of that magic wand, that one-stop shop for anyone who develops, measures, and wants to scale their branding strategy from an employer perspective. So explain to me the evolution that Cliquify is clearly taking into going into developing platforms like CLEO Intelligence and look at external data analysis.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. So, our mission and vision, if you will, right, has always been, how do you enable organizations who are strapped for budgets, resources, to really have a very effortless way to essentially conduct their employer branding activities, right, and efforts. And that entails, as we know, right, if you look at an employer brander's job today or job description today, it varies tremendously. And so if we think about the entire workflow, from understanding competitive intelligence to crafting strategies, specific campaigns to drive relevant talent, not only external and internal, when you look at that entire workflow, our mission is really to enable that workflow in one single place. And as you'll see, we're going to be adding more and more features to enable the entire workflow in one platform in Cliquify, and hence we'll talk a little bit about CLEO Intelligence today, which is our latest feature to be added to the platform, and just super excited to be here to talk in more detail with you about that.
So talk to me a little bit about what makes CLEO Intelligence so unique.
I would say the most unique factor about CLEO is not just understanding the competition, because there are a lot of tools out there that will give you that, but we took it a step further, right? As former talent and branding leaders ourselves, we wanted to actually help with content strategies, as an example, right? So for example, if I am a pharmaceutical company and I know I'm losing talent to these other companies, and they don't necessarily have to be other pharmaceutical companies, we'll actually get to that level of detail and then analyze side-by-side comparison of what is unique about your company versus where your talent is headed, and how do you actually enable a strategic point of view around what kind of actions you need to be taking to stave off your competitors and make sure that your talent is, and prospective or existing talent inside your organization, truly understands what's unique about you versus where they may be thinking of going.
And it's interesting. So, if I think back on my days either leading an employer brand strategy internally at a big company, or even managing as a consultant a variety of employer brand strategies, or even identifying what some of the needs and the challenges are, it always used to start with a competitive intelligence, right? So you're always trying to look at who is your top talent, where are you losing that top talent, where are you, and what are the factors that are contributing to that? And that requires a lot of research, right? Unless you have some specific insights into all of these companies, which very few, if any, do, it really does require a lot of work to kind of pull all of that insights down. So explain to me what some of the data points are that CLEO looks at.
Yeah, and you're spot on. I mean, the AI age that we live in today, this is an amazing application of saving time and effort and money. Right, as you, Sandra, right, I've also been part of several initiatives where I have to go out and do this massive 6-month exercise to understand what's happening in the marketplace, where we stand compared to our talent competitors, and they not be our business competitors, right? Because your talent could be going to a completely different industry, and so we've basically taken 6 months worth of effort that goes into that kind of analysis. We've boiled it down because we've been training the machine for the last 9 months, right? We've boiled it down to under 2 hours. You can actually get really, really in-depth analysis that it's not going to replace the human intelligence that goes into really starting to analyze, because there are a lot of internal factors that you have to take into consideration as well. But it gets you about 70 to 80% there in terms of really understanding what's happening. And what's unique is it's not a one-time snapshot, right? Because the world is constantly evolving. So what we have done with CLEO, and by the way, CLEO stands for Cliquify Engagement Optimizer. So that's kind of the acronym CLEO, that's the genesis of it. And the whole idea is, if you want to engage with your audience, you need that intelligence and not, remove as much of guesswork that happens today when you're trying to engage external as well as internal talent from a content standpoint.
Right. And even, to your point, it takes a lot of time to put together in traditional form a way of looking at what does my external benchmark look like? What are people saying about the company? What are some of the competitors saying? But if you think about it, even from a branding leader perspective, if you're trying a campaign or if you're executing a content strategy and you want to see, is it moving the needle? Are people talking about this at all? Do people understand this? To be able to have even any insight like that in such a short period of time versus having to, again, dedicate resources to scraping all of these different resources is pretty amazing and unique, to be honest.
Yeah, and the data, we're very big on making sure that you normalize the data so you're not just relying on one data source, right? So we're looking across the web, right? So if you have a digital footprint from an employment standpoint, chances are we're capturing that, right? So it could be on, if people talking about you on Reddit, as an example, or if people are talking about you on Glassdoor or Comparably, or on LinkedIn, or on Instagram, and so on, right? So our goal is to start to really not just listen, but also then give you very targeted strategies based on each competitor, right? And that's what's unique about CLEO.
Yeah. So, if we think about a time perspective, we talked about how much time, even just the platforms that you mentioned, how much time it would take a person or a couple of people to do that. But then you have to put it into a report, right? You've got to put it into some kind of an analysis that makes sense. So, can you show me or explain to me what the end user actually gets from CLEO?
Yeah. Inside Cliquify, and of course, our mission is always to be a storytelling platform. And so CLEO AI is right here, and it can be sold separately if folks just want CLEO, so you don't have to purchase all of Cliquify. But inside Cliquify, you've got CLEO Intelligence, and what CLEO offers is a high-level summary of where you're losing your talent to, and it'll also give you how is your sentiment across all of those different platforms I mentioned, so not just a singular view, right? And this gets updated every month. It'll give you content strategies. So based on the gap analysis, it'll actually suggest, like for this particular enterprise, it's suggesting ideas to think about based on the gap analysis, right? And what formats of content to use as you think about the strategy every month, right? So this gets updated. It's not a static view. And then you could even do a side-by-side compare. So let's say I wanted to compare myself to Oracle as an example, right? So you can actually see, like if I want to compare a couple of companies, in this instance, I'm comparing IBM with Oracle, and our machine is actually starting to categorize the various EVP attributes of a side-by-side comparison for IBM as well as for Oracle, as an example here. And then lastly, it won't just give you content strategies, but we'll even take it down to what does your content calendar look like for the month of March, as an example.
That's amazing.
Right? Yeah, and it's not just worldly events, they're included in here, but it's very specific to aligning what that organization stands for, right? So because we're collecting so much information, and oh, by the way, if you are a Cliquify customer, you get to load your EVP inside Cliquify as well. So CLEO AI becomes even more powerful because we have your EVP to compare against as well.
And what's amazing about this too, Amit, is that, clearly I'm looking at it from a very, employer brand perspective, given that that's the business that I'm in. But if you think about it, the alignment that, we talk about alignment with HR or internal comms all the time and how important that is for talent acquisition and employer brand. When you've got something like this, which is really taking that external data, and even that external data, you're scraping sites that are getting comments and data from employees. So it's external data, but it's also potentially a more unbiased or less weighted view of internal sentiment as well. And you're able to kind of see some areas of focus that are going to be needed, prioritized by both, right? So when we think about the alignment with HR and how do we get sort of that better employee engagement, and how do we, work together on some of these issues to better position our workplace culture, this is an amazing tool to be able to do that, because it's that real-time, instant, unbiased data point view that can really get everybody on the same page.
Yeah, you raise a great point, Sandra, right? Because if you're in a large organization that you and I kind of grew up in, right, you've got silos, unfortunately, right? So this report is really meant to have those dialogues with the talent management function inside organization, the talent acquisition function, and more you're starting to see the talent acquisition and talent management functions come together in organizations as well. So this report or this feature is really at the heart of attraction and retention. Look, engagement surveys only go a certain we all know, right? Like, yes, you'll get some solid candid feedback in certain pockets of your organization through engagement surveys. But the unbiased view that you get from people who are anonymously talking about you, I think, is worth a lot more.
Yeah. So I think one of the immediate thoughts that comes to mind is I'm an employer brand leader or a talent attraction leader sitting in a where I'm really trying to balance my priorities, my resources, and be able to promote the value and the importance of what we're doing across all of the organization. I would take this as an opportunity to, share a report or reach out to your colleagues in HR or comms and say, hey, I just wanted to offer this to you. It's sort of that gift.
Yeah.
When you want to work with somebody or when you want something from someone, it's always good to offer an olive branch first. So tell me what anybody who is looking at this, maybe they haven't yet signed up for Cliquify, which, I don't know why. If you're doing employer brand, it is the absolute easiest, most seamless, best way of getting your brand narrative out there. But if they haven't and they want to get an example of what this might look like to see, hey, can I use this even just to build bridges internally and get some collaboration here? What do they need to do?
Yeah, great point, Sandra. So they could get a free report, and I'm not sure how long we're going to keep it for free, but
Important
it
to
is
note, everybody, it's March, what is it, March 20th? March
March
20th.
20th.
And right now it is a
Yeah,
free report. Sorry, continue on.
yeah, and I don't know how long it's going to be for free because we just launched this last week, and we already have 82 companies as of this morning.
Wow.
uh, who have actually generated their own report for free, and we're getting some amazing feedback already in a very positive way. Uh, so yeah, anybody who wants this report, get your hands on it, and we can even have a dialogue based on the findings of the report as well. You can get it at getcleo.ai. So that's GETCLEO.ai. That's where you can get your report.
So I've always wanted to do this, but for a limited time offer, everyone go to. So it's Get Cleo, GETCLEO.ai for a free report. Again, we do not have a time window when this will close. It will close because there is so much interest in this. I cannot more strongly recommend anyone who is in the talent attraction, HR, employee engagement, where you need to be able to look at an unbiased view. You don't have tons of people who are out there ready to scrape sites for you. Go in, get your free report, take a look at it, see what some of that value is. You'll even get value from that report because what Amit just shared is you get content strategy recommendations. You can get a content calendar. There's so much value even just going in and getting that free report. But using that as an olive branch to really either build more interest and engagement in what you're doing or to work together and collaborate with some of your colleagues in HR and comms, in branding, corporate brand. I think this is a huge benefit and a huge opportunity. So again, limited time offer, but I cannot more strongly recommend this from having been a practitioner for over 15 years. This is a gem and it's a gift that will not last long. While supplies last was my other line I wanted
Yeah,
to offer.
I will end with this. We do have chief people officers in organizations interested in this. So if you're an employer branding leader, like really want to shine with your leadership, this would be a great place to start. And I will also end with I just had a meeting with another client, large multinational in the industrial space actually. So they do robotics. It's pretty cool. Um, they spend about $1.7 million on ads today, right? So their use cases, they're looking at using Clio to be more targeted with their ad spend, right? So that they're not shooting arrows in the dark, right? They have a very specific talent market they're going after, right? So that's another use case of how you can actually do more with less in a more targeted way.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a huge opportunity, and I think it's an amazing product. There is an incredible benefit from it. So, my last question for you, Amit, as we wrap up, is where is Cliquify going in the next 5 to 10 years? Because I think the evolution of the platform has been amazing. When I started to get involved with Cliquify, definitely the focus is on what story are you trying to tell? What is your brand value? Where are your EVP areas that you really want to push out there? How do you build a narrative around it? And how do you get other people to share your content? So it's more of that grassroots content sharing. Video element was added to it because obviously people love to consume video. So we now have video voices for Cliquify. Now we're looking at, hey, we're in the world of AI and people ask all the time, how do I leverage AI in employer branding? What should I be looking at? What should I be concerned about? This is a beautiful representation of how to use AI in employer branding because it is about data-driven decision making. How do I justify to leadership what it is that we're doing? This is data-driven decision making. So the evolution of Cliquify has obviously been from people who have been on the ground doing this, and also clearly you work so closely with your clients and really understand what their problem areas are. So what areas are you and Mohit looking at in the next, let's say 5 years when it
Oh my
comes to the
God, yeah.
evolution of this platform?
Yeah, look, I mean, that's a great question. I think a lot of it is going to be, to your point, driven by the macro trends that are happening, but also what our clients need, short term as well as long term. We do have a roadmap in mind, however, and we do believe Cliquify will continue to push the envelope on real intelligence, data intelligence. I think content is great, but I do believe it's going to be free in the future with AI, of course. But intelligence is where it's at. So for us, it's going to be talent attraction and retention intelligence, and that's kind of it's a big data thing that we're driving. We'll still be in the world of employer branding, right? And I think employer branding itself will evolve, and we're excited to see how we help to push the envelope in evolving the function as well.
Absolutely. So again, you do not have to be a current client of Cliquify to get this report, and very excited to hear everybody's feedback on how great this report is and how much of a benefit it's been to even helping evolve your own strategies. So Amit, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra.